The question, I think, for educators and for those who are interested in education is, what do these social and economic changes that have been created by technology, what does it mean for our educational system? As Tom Dewey said at the end of the 18th century and beginning of the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, in a book entitled School and Society, he asked educators in the society, in the American society as a whole at that time, because at that time it was a transition from an agricultural-based society to an industrial manufacturing-based society. He asked the question, is our educational system sufficient to meet the needs of the changing society? And I think we have that same question to answer at this particular moment in time. And that's what we try to accomplish with the education reforms that were in House Bill 1, not only to address the concerns raised in the Duroff decision, and as I say, in the second decision, Justice Resnick even raised this issue of the academic quality that was being produced through our educational system. But I think there's a broader challenge because, again, of these changes that are occurring. And so what does the future hold? It's a big question mark at this time. It's a big question mark that we have to answer. And we think with the passage of House Bill 1, we have begun to answer that question. Joan asked me to talk about what is the philosophy at the heart of House Bill 1. It's this quote that the governor shared with the state in his State of the State address in 2008. And he basically, this is again a quote from that same book that I said Tom Dewey, John Dewey.
John Dewey.
Yeah, sorry about that. John Dewey's book, again, School and Society. Basically, John Dewey was looking at, was saying that when we look at education and and providing educational services to our children, we really should think of our kids as being the center of the universe. And with them being the center of the universe, we should make sure that all of the educational services, all of the educational apparatus that are available to us as an educational system, as a society, we should make sure that it is focused on the child. And we should make sure that we're identifying the individual needs and the individual strengths of the child, the individual strengths of the child and the individual needs of the child in order to address that. And so starting with this key principle that the governor cited in his State of the State address, we developed what we felt was the core and foundation of any education reform effort. And that was because we felt that all the past reform efforts in the state of Ohio did not have a central focus for why the reforms were needed. In essence, we didn't have a purpose. What are we doing in education? Why are we engaged in education as a state? And so we felt it was important for our reform effort that we establish clearly what we think the purpose of education is. And the purpose of education and our thinking was to fully develop every student and provide each student with an opportunity to be successful in life. And what we mean by successful in life, succeed economically, succeed in becoming a well-rounded person, and succeed in becoming a productive citizen in a global society. And that in order to achieve that purpose, what we had to do in the state of Ohio was to provide every student with a student-centered, personalized 21st century learning environment that fosters and nurtures creativity, innovation, and global confidence for every child in the state, regardless of where they are in the state. And the guiding principles are sort of serving as sort of our value statements about what is important for the state of Ohio to achieve that vision and to achieve that purpose. First and foremost, we felt that the state of Ohio had to recommit to strengthening public education in the state of Ohio. That for far too long, we've neglected public education. It was time for us to recommit to strengthening public education. We must recognize that our educational system is critical to the economic and civic prosperity of our state. That in order for us to excel internationally, we must focus on creativity and innovation. Our educators must teach our students to think past the limits of what's been done and imagine what could be done. So in essence, and Joan and I have had this conversation many, many times, because Joan is really passionate about the arts, that giving our students the ability to hone their critical thinking skills, to hone their creative thinking skills, is critical in this new economy that we have ourselves in. Because, information is available all over the world. It's available right here at our fingertips right now. No longer do you have to go to the library to research a paper. You can actually research a paper on this cell phone that I have right now. Because I have access to the internet, and I can Google whatever I want to Google, and then have access to whatever libraries and whatever documents and materials that are available on the internet. I can do it right here on my handheld cell phone. And that has really changed and revolutionized, I think, what our kids are going to have to do. No longer can we believe, and no longer can our educational system reflect the belief that we can have 30% of our kids drop out of school, or 40% of our kids drop out of school, and they are going to live a successful life. It's no longer a possibility. I grew up in a household where my dad worked in the factories in Michigan and in Cleveland. When you drive to Cleveland on 71, and as you're coming into the city, there's that big Ford plant on the side, on the left-hand side. My dad worked in that Ford plant in the late 60s, early 70s. And I can tell you, going into those plants, you saw individuals, mostly men, working really hard jobs. Go into a factory today, and we saw some of this during the automobile crisis last year, when they were showing all of these images in December of 2008, January of 2009, when they were showing these images on the TV of the different factory floor plants. How many saw those images? What did you see?
Well, you saw people using the robots and programming the robots to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw robots during that 2-month time frame when this was on nightly news almost every night. I saw robots spray painting cars. I saw robots putting in windshields. I saw robots even welding pieces together, and that was like amazing, because things was going, the frame of the car was going down the assembly line. You saw these arms, like 6 or 7 arms, come out and weld pieces together as it's going down the assembly line.